Judge contends Nazis got more due process than Trump deportees did.
Don't care.
Really? And that's the answer I was looking for, Phil.
Don't care.
Who cares? Donald Trump's trying to deport Tren de Aragua. There's apparently arguments that there's a gay Venezuelan barber asylum seeker who's been wrapped up in this and sent to a supermax in El Salvador, which is terrifying. I don't want, well, first thing I got to say is, why did you try to exploit my country and lie to get in here? Because if you're from Venezuela, Mexico is right there and you're safe. But I think he's a liar who committed a crime against this country. I don't think he deserves to go to supermax. But at the same time, am I really going to come out right now and argue that Donald Trump should not use the fullest extent of his powers to undo the damage that Biden caused?
Joe Biden's fault. Joe Biden allowed millions of people to come into this country illegally. Now we have to get rid of them. And that means that the chances of people that are not here illegally or that are not criminals or whatever, they're going to get wrapped up too. And hopefully we can fix it after the fact, and that they don't have too much actual like irreparable damage or whatever, or repercussions that can't be remedied. But there are going to be errors when you're trying to remove millions of people. And I'm sorry that that's going to happen, but that's going to happen. And you can't avoid it. We are fallible humans. If you want to blame someone, blame Joe Biden and blame Democrats who have been pro-illegal immigration for at least 10 years.
And they lost 300,000 children.
Yeah. I will say, a gay barber that gets caught up in an El Salvadorian supermax prison sounds like a fantastic premise for a great comedy movie.
It's like Barry. It's like, have you watched Barry?
I haven't seen this
Bill Hader's show. It's amazing.
About the serial killer, right?
He's like a murderer. It's crazy.
Okay, yeah.
Bill Hader's, it's amazing, but there's a character just like that.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the point you were just making about, lamenting, oh, well, if we do this, then Democrats will eventually use that against us. Well, I think people are undercounting the knock-on effects that wielding this type of political power has, right? Like, Democrats did all of these things in the Joe Biden administration, dating back to, you want to stretch it back to FDR or Woodrow Wilson or whatever, right? They were not concerned with what the right was going to do when the right got power. That wasn't a worry for them. Why? Because they knew if they exercised power in such a way, they could inculcate their interests and their people's, so that when we come in and we have a mandate like this on the right, breaking down that wall is proving really, really difficult. Yeah. Just ask the Trump administration legal team, who finds themselves involved in 132 different court cases, right? So this idea that power once wielded can be equally applied by the other side, I don't think that's true in the current system that we have. So it's smart for the Trump administration, as Tim was saying, to use as much power as possible to get back to those basics that we were talking about, right? Moral cohesion. To get back there, you need to destroy everything that they've built to inculcate their values.
Obviously, right now, if one of the questions I had for the trigonometry guys is, if with all these terror attacks that are happening against Tesla facilities, and we've already seen the summer of love riots, so we're in this period of conflict. If the legislature of a state voted to protect these far left groups from their own law enforcement and from federal law enforcement, should Trump intervene, invoke the Insurrection Act, and start enforcing the law federally through the National Guard?
I was hoping they were going to do that during the Black Lives Matter riots.
The summer of love.
Right. Yeah, like they didn't do it then, right?
If the states then vote to bar the National Guard entry into their state and physically obstruct them, should Trump order the politicians arrested for levying war against the United States, seditious conspiracy?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that is war.
I don't know that
I don't know it would be the politically prudent thing to do. Would Trump theoretically be within his rights to do it?
That's part of
in that situation. Probably.
So again, Abraham Lincoln had the Maryland legislature, portions of it, arrested for being sympathetic to the Confederacy.
Mayor of Baltimore.
The mayor of Baltimore too.
The grandson of Francis Scott Key as well, I think, was thrown in jail by Lincoln.
Suspended habeas corpus.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you guys this who are listening. You can comment. Do you think, and do you believe, two questions, that Abraham Lincoln was a despotic dictator, an evil man, who is abusing his power? Do you believe that if you asked the average American that question, they would respond in the affirmative or the negative?
The average person would respond in the negative.
Right.
They would say he was a hero who did what he had to do to preserve the Union.
But he was a dictator.
And Donald Trump says he's like Abraham Lincoln.
Right. But I don't agree with what Lincoln did with suspending habeas corpus with those people, because they were just openly saying they were sympathizers of the Confederacy. Some of them didn't even do that.
The theory was that Abraham Lincoln didn't just arbitrarily be like, you know what, no habeas corpus for anybody. He said, we need safe passage between Pennsylvania and D.C. and Maryland as a slave state sympathetic to the Confederacy. We need to remove the Confederate sympathizers, and we need to create a passage for U.S. military and troops to move into D.C. without any obstruction. So the point of the suspension of habeas corpus was anyone who obstructed them would be arrested and removed immediately without question.
Right.
So they didn't, because they were at war.
Right.
We are not in a physical kinetic war right now. What we have is higher generational warfare to some degree, fifth, maybe sixth. We certainly have fourth. Fourth generational warfare is insurgency. Warfare does not mean you are at war with another nation or in a civil war or anything like that. So there's subterfuge, there's subversion. When I look at this story about the mass deportations, here's what I fear. Donald Trump should not be rounding up innocent people. I hope that doesn't happen. As much as people might sympathize with on the left with this gay barber, one thing remains clear. He criminally entered this country to commit fraud against the United States. Now, if we get a story of an American citizen who was sent to a supermax in El Salvador, then I will go to the White House personally. I will text everyone I can and be like, get that citizen back here.
Yep.
When Donald Trump joked that the Tesla terrorists could maybe spend 20 years in a supermax in El Salvador, that's messed up. I say no to that. I think he's half joking, but I'm not going to tolerate any kind of, we're going to ship American citizens to a foreign country's supermax prison. No way. Far leftist wingnuts get due process, and that due process is the right to a trial, because if you don't give them that, you don't get it either. Now, as for these non-citizens, this gay barber asylum seeker, you want me to feel sorry for this guy? The guy who illegally entered our country, lied to us so that he could come here, break our laws? Listen, I don't want him in a supermax prison. I get it. But the left is going, oh no, the poor gay barber, quick, burn the Constitution? Sorry, not happening. You do not illegally enter this country and take advantage of the American people and then expect me to come out and defend you the way I would an American citizen or a legal resident who did everything right. That being said, Mahmoud Khalil, he's on a 2-year temporary green card. They act like he's a permanent resident. That's a technicality because he is on a green card, but it's a temporary, it's a conditional. And he helped organize violent protests where they took over buildings and threatened workers, and there was violence against students. Sorry, you get your visa revoked for that.
See ya.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. That type of crime, no tolerance for it. No tolerance for it at all. And the crazy thing about what we see on college campuses right now on the left is all of those people who work in those buildings asked for it for so long. This is the type of academic environment they wanted to inculcate, right? They wanted to create this activist class that was either going to dole out USAID dollars or receive USAID dollars. And to see the, I don't know, the brain rot finally come for their own institutions. There's something very gratifying about it. At the same time, I really, like, a lot of these administrations on these college campuses are doubling down on these DEI policies or on this
Changing
type of
names so that way they
changing names.
Did Columbia
right.
cave today for the $400 million?
I don't know. Did they?
It was some New York college. I think it was Columbia that caved to get the $400 mil.
The point, if they did, that's a win, because I see this window, right? The campus Hamas Israel protests creating a window for the right to actually act vigorously against these academic institutions, and to see Trump come out and be so vigorous against them in the first 2 months has been wonderful to see. But you need something to like blow that wide open. And I think that's why the speech issue paired with leveraging federal funds is the perfect way to do this. Because if they don't, I mean, you just have to bring these institutions to heel. Like this is the wartime presidency in a certain respect. It's this weird balance.
Yeah.
I got bad news for everybody. I think that we're going to be moving towards the left propaganda campaign we predicted. photos and videos of people being loaded on trains, buses, or whatever. They're going to say Trump is Hitler. It's Hitler 2.0. Here we go. There's nothing you can do. We've got, on the low end, an estimated 10 million people who illegally entered this country, and that doesn't include the people who are legally allowed to enter under Joe Biden's special programs, like the 530,000 Haitians, Cubans, and et cetera, and Venezuelans. They were allowed to legally enter. These people didn't come here illegally. They were told if they had a sponsor here, they could come. Trump's terminating 500,000 legal statuses, immigrant legal statuses. Now that's tough. These are people who didn't break the law. They were told by Joe Biden, come on down. It's fine. It's legal. But this was still an attack on the American people, seeking to flood the zone in liberal jurisdictions to boost their electoral vote count. This is the game that Democrats have been playing. Trump will reverse this. Otherwise, the country is doomed. Yep. There will be a response from the left in some capacity, and you are going to get these narratives. Trump is a despot who's rounding up. The game they're playing right now is the gay barber is innocent. That's what they're saying. They're saying this gay barber is innocent. He was an asylum seeker, and Trump accused him of being Tren de Aragua, sent him to Supermax. My response is, that's propaganda. He entered the country illegally. End of story. Asylum seeker means he entered illegally. Because if he didn't, then he wouldn't be an asylum seeker. He'd be a visa holder. He'd be a green card holder. He came from Venezuela, bypassing every country in between where he could have been safe, came to the United States for economic reasons, most likely, breaking our laws, and in the sweep, he gets deported. Now, I've heard two conflicting reports. One says he's still currently in U.S. detention or in U.S. controlled detention, awaiting some kind of hearing. Others have said he's already in Venezuela. But this is not an American citizen who is innocent. This is a man who committed a crime for which the due process is, sir, are you a citizen? No. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm. When they start pumping out that propaganda with the people on trucks getting pushed out, all our friends out there just keep saying, I voted for this. We got to push through it, but the crazy people are going to get crazier. I'm watching people out there. They're unhinged, like leftists. They're crazier now, or just as crazy as they were during the Summer of Love.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.